going, guys? This is my Lasiodora parahybana, the Salmon Pink Bird-eating Tarantula, and I got a request of someone to show some spinnerets in action, so I figured I'd also work this into a tarantula handling video. And one of the most important things you're going to want to do if you are going to handle your tarantula, which a lot of people, I don't suggest you do it unless you're confident, you're going to want to know the species you're working with. Generally, this species can be very defensive. The one that I have in particular is not very defensive, but research the species that you're working with before you get one or you try and handle it, and know what you're getting yourself into. A lot of tarantulas can have pretty serious bites, leave you in a lot of pain. Okay, so aside from knowing your species, what you're going to need is you're going to want to get something to use to try to kind of warn the tarantula that you're going to be coming in to handle it. So I use chopsticks, like go to a Chinese restaurant, get some chopsticks, drop one out. Tarantula poker. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay out your hand, and I usually lay my hand out flat like this, as flat as possible in the enclosure. And then what I do is I just give the tarantula a little bit of a tap, so that if it overreacts and thinks that the first thing it touches it is food, it'll grab the stick and not your hand. So you can see, you can just move it a little bit onto your hand, and then once you got it, you can just pick it up. Now, you see how it's walking? You're going to want to use the hand under hand. As soon as it walks over one hand, you're going to want to try and get your other hand ready to grab it. This one's getting pretty big to the point where you're probably not going to want to handle it because it's too hard to handle with just two hands. You can see that it encompasses all of one hand and then part of another one. And you can see it moves pretty quickly. That's the part where you're going to need to be calm. If you see that it starts running, like you might have seen in my other videos, some of my arboreal tarantulas just straight running, then you're going to want to stay calm in the situation. There you can see. There she is. So let me see if I can just get her to walk up my arm a little bit so you guys can get a little bit of a look at her spinnerets. Because while she's walking, she'll usually fan out her spinnerets and lay some web. She's walking kind of fast, but if you look right there, there's two spinnerets. And what she'll do is she'll go like this, and she'll just lay out little strands of web while she's walking. A lot of species will do this when they're walking on you. You can see. Just get her to keep going. Come on. And especially with the terrestrial species like this, you're not going to really want to get them too high off the ground because they have such thick bodies. If they drop from more than a couple inches, usually their abdomen will rupture, their back part right here will rupture, and it'll usually lead to the tarantula dying. So let's stick it in there. You can see the spinnerets right there. You can see they can move them. They're actually jointed, so they can move them pretty well. Oh, you see what she did right there? New World species like this one have what are called irritating hairs, or urticating hairs, rather. And it's all these really long hairs right here. And when they get agitated, what they do is they'll kick back with their back leg, like you just saw her do, and it'll kick some of the hairs and it gets in the air. If it gets into the folds of your skin, like in here, it'll make it itch. It'll pop up, it'll look like a mosquito bit you, and it'll make you itch a real lot. They actually used to use tarantula hair in itching powder.
No, I don't have to touch it. There's no law against dreaming.
see if I can get her to walk down my arm here.
My friends and I were just wondering if you could get out of the way. You're blocking the big TV.
There we go.
She is so beautiful. I wish I could take her home with me. Bill, I'm not married, but is this what love feels like? Yeah, except for this, you can turn it on and fall asleep.
See, she's laying web out right there. While she's walking, she's actually spinning out web.
This is the floor mop with a beautiful little scrape right on the side. So with our employee discount, this is only like $1,000. I can't believe I blew my last paycheck on freight.
And I've been working with tarantulas since I was about 3 years old, so I'm very comfortable working with most species. But if you're not experienced, do not go with dangerous species, especially the old world species. They tend to be much more aggressive and much less forgiving of mistakes.